Okay, today is February 13th, 2025. It's our 80 seconds session, reading the Urantia book with Heidi. We keep reading paper 115, The Supreme Being, section 1. Last time we went through the first 2 paragraphs, and today we keep reading section 1. 今天是2月13号2025年，我们继续读约染夏之书第115篇至高存在者的第一部分。上一次我们读了2个段落，这次继续完成第一部分的其他部分，可能还会读第2部分。Okay, Heidi, it's your go.
Hello, greetings, Urantians. We're so happy to finally be reading the Supreme Being paper, which we've been looking forward to. And we're, as Ricky said, we're in paper 115, the Supreme Being. We read the first 2 paragraphs last week. So we're in section 1, Relativity of Cosmic Frames. And we're going to start today with the 3rd paragraph. Here I go. In order to facilitate mortal comprehension of the universe of universes, the diverse levels of cosmic reality have been designated as finite, absonite, and absolute. Of these, only the absolute is unqualifiedly eternal, truly existential. Absonites and finites are derivatives, modifications, qualifications, and attenuations of the original and primordial absolute reality of infinity.
Wendy, 你来读中文的部分吧。
为了方便凡人理解诸宇宙之宇宙，不同层次的宇宙实相并被命名为有限的、绝限的和绝对的。在这些层次中，只有绝对是无条件永恒的、真正存在性的。绝限和有限是最初原生的绝对无限实相的衍生、修改、限定和降格。
Okay, we're going to have to, was that Wendy reading?
Yes, it's
yes.
Okay, Wendy, you're going to have to get closer to your microphone.
Oh, okay.
Because it wasn't quite loud enough. Maybe you could just read it again.
Okay. Is it loud enough
Yes.
now?
It's
Okay.
better, yeah.
louder now.
OK， 为了方便凡人理解诸宇宙之宇宙，不同层次的宇宙实相被命名为有限的、绝限的和绝对的。在这些层次中，只有绝对是无条件永恒的、真正存在性的。绝限和有限是最初原生的绝对无限实相的衍生、修改、限定和降格。
Okay, thanks. They're just saying they're telling us that they've labeled the cosmic levels of reality as finite, absonite, and absolute for the mortal mind, so that we can comprehend them better. So sometimes we forget that when they're telling us things, a lot of times they're just, they've put it in that framework just for our comprehension. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the way everyone in the universe sees it. It's not like, it's really, they're trying to make it comprehensible to us. So I would say they're probably simplifying things a great deal.
对，这一段呢，就说这个，这本书就是把不同层次的宇宙实相命名为有限的、绝限的和绝对的。就这种分法呢，是为了方便我们物质凡人对宇宙实相的理解，是一种 简单化了的一种分类，可能其他的层次的存有不一定需要这种分类来加强他们的理解，但是对于我们物质凡人，他就是认为这样分类呢是方便我们理解宇宙的实相。
Then they're just saying that of these three basic levels of universe reality, it's only the absolute. And it's easy to remember because it's the word absolute, meaning absolute. That's, total. It only the absolute. Wait, hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Thank you. Only the absolute is the only one of these three levels that's completely infinite, completely eternal, no beginning, no end, existential, sort of the I am, which in the Bible they call God, sometimes is called the I am, which means always present. I am is no past, no future, but more like encompassing the past and the future, because in the past he was I am, and in the future he is I am. But the absolute cosmic reality is that reality which has no beginning, no end, always was, is existential.
对，在这些层次当中，只有绝对是无条件永恒的，它是无限的，它是没有开始和结束，它是那个 I am， 我是，它是一再永在，永远在的，就是都包罗万象。
All right, the next paragraph, last paragraph of section 1. The realms of the finite exist by virtue of the eternal purpose of God. Finite creatures, high and low, may propound theories, and have done so, as to the necessity of the finite in the cosmic economy. But in the last analysis, it exists because God so willed. The universe cannot be explained, neither can a finite creature offer a rational reason for his own individual existence without appealing to the prior acts and pre-existent volition of ancestral beings, creators, or procreators.
Wendy，
有限领域凭借神的永恒意志而存在，有限受造物，无论是高等的还是低等的，或许会对于有限在宇宙体制中的必要性提出诸多理论，且也已那样做了。但归根结底，有限受造物之所以存在，是因为神意志使然。若不述祖先存有造物者，或是创生者的先前行为和先存意志，会无法理解宇宙有限受造物，也无法对其自身个体存在提供一个合理的理由。
And here I keep pointing out that the book, especially in the forward, kept saying over and over again that something was the way it was because it was God's will, because it was his decision. He chose to do it. They've been trying to drill into our brains the idea that reality is not the way it is because it has to be that way or because of some scientific explanation. They're constantly reminding us that everything in reality was a decision by God. God chose for things to be the way they are. He wills for it to be the way they are. We later can expound on theories. We're free to come up with all kinds of ideas and explanations for instance, why there's a finite reality, why there has to be a finite reality as well as an absolute and abstinent. It says, finite creatures, high and low, may propound theories, have done so, and so as to the necessity of the finite in the cosmic economy. So they're not saying it's wrong for us to have theories or to come up with theories, but they're saying in the final analysis, the reason there's a finite reality is because God so willed it.
Mm. 对，就是前言也是反复的强调，就是一切的创造都是神的意志，神决定这么做。他就是一直在钻我们的头脑，然后让我们了解到这个实相。为什么就是说有限的实相会存在？然后它就是三层嘛，绝对的和绝限的和有限的，就是我们有限的头脑有时候有些弄出一些理论来，并不是错误啊，只是由于我们有限而稍微做了一些扭曲。
And they say right here, it says right here, the universe cannot be explained. Neither can a finite creature offer rational reason for his own individual existence without appealing to the prior acts and pre-existent volition of ancestral beings. So they're saying, I think they're trying to tell us that we always want to explain everything. We have a, and they're saying that we have done so and we will continue to do so. They're not saying that our explanations don't have any merit. There may be a good scientific explanation for finite reality they're saying that people have come up with the idea that as to the necessity of the finite in the cosmic economy, they're saying people will say, oh, there has to be a finite reality in order for there to be a spiritual reality and so forth. They're saying you can say these. They're not saying it's wrong to think this way. They're just saying, but remember, the real reason it could have been. They're saying they're letting us know it could have been designed a different way. It doesn't have to be this way. It's this way because God or other celestial divine beings above our level of cosmic reality designed it that way. That's the real reason. And I don't think they want us to forget that.
对，当然我们有限头脑是可以提供各种的，它不是说我们的解释就完全没有价值、没有意义。我们当然也可以给一些所谓科学的头脑来解释我们的实相的存在啊，必须要有一个像一个因果，像一个先前有什么，然后再有什么，就这样的一个理论框架。但是也仅此而已，我们就是没有办法，就是超出我们的理论框架来真正的理解，就是造物主会怎么样创造万物，为什么创造万物。
I can give an example here. Like, for instance, if you were a scientist, you might say, well, you can look at evolution and you can say, well, humans had to have this size brain and they had to have a nose and a mouth and breathe oxygen in order to evolve to be the way we are, the most sentient sentient animal on the planet in order to become more than an animal and have the capacity to have a soul, etc. We had to have 2 legs and 2 arms, and there had to be oxygen. And they're saying, be careful of thinking that way, because we then find out through the Urantia book, no, in order to be an intelligent mortal, you don't have to have oxygen. You don't have to look like us. There are intelligent beings that fly. There are intelligent beings, they're called non-breathers, that don't, I guess they probably, maybe they don't have noses and mouths, but maybe they do because they have to eat, who knows. But there's all kinds of mortals that are just as smart or smarter than we are, that don't look like us, and they don't have the same metabolism that we do. So I think they're saying that when you start trying to be too smart to try to figure everything out, be careful, because it could have, it's not necessarily you're not looking at you don't know why God designed things the way he did. You'll never know. They're saying the realms of finite, they're saying right here that the universe cannot be explained. They're saying, now these are very smart beings who wrote this book, and they're saying the universe cannot be explained. That means they can't explain it. So if they can't, then we certainly can't.
有限受造物之所以存在，是因为神意志使然。这个地方反复强调的神的意志。然后呢，我们经常会提出我们自己的理论啊，我们说啊，这个大脑就是这个，大小要是这样子的，就是一个高级造物，然后鼻子有鼻子嘴要来保持呼吸氧气啊，然后怎么样？就是我们所有的假设，然后生命必须要怎么样，但是就是预言下之书实际上告诉我们，这个智慧的生物不见得像我们长这个样子，也有可能有一些是根本不呼吸的，还有一些在天空中飞的，有一些我们认为可能不是智慧的生物，但实际上比我们聪明，所以我们不能太以为自己好像很聪明，然后认为自己的推出的一些理论、假设的一些理论就是绝对的真理。
Now, the paper 115, and then well, all the papers on the Supreme Being, it's paper 116 through paper 116, paper 115, 116, 117, and 118. So these are all the papers on the Supreme Being. They were all written by a mighty messenger. A mighty messenger is a one-time mortal. So to me, it's always exciting to read. There's not many papers in the book written by mighty messengers. So they of all the authors, there's about 25 authors of the Urantia book. Of all the authors, they are the only ones that were once mortal. So they know how we think. So they know how to put things. It should be, I think they chose, well, there's many reasons they chose the mighty messengers to write about the Supreme Being. But the Supreme Being is very hard to understand in many ways. But the fact that these papers are written by a mighty messenger should make it a lot easier for us, because they know how we think.
就是第115篇哈，这第3部分第115篇到118篇是关于这个至高存在者的，本质至高者的。那么是由强大使者写的，强大使者就是制作预言下之书那25个作者之一。那么他曾经做过凡人，是从凡人这进化到高级存有的那个。 他好像是不是唯一的一个就是凡人，曾经是凡人的，就是所以他是理解我们这个凡人的就是思路啊、思维方式啊，所以他写这一部分至高存在者的时候，这个概念本来是很难理解的，但是由于他有过凡人的经验，所以他会就是写作的时候会那个方式啊、表达呀，会让我们更容易理解。
So, section 2, the absolute basis for supremacy. From the existential standpoint, nothing new can happen throughout the galaxies, for the completion of infinity inherent in the I am is eternally present in the seven absolutes. Oh, sorry. For the completion of infinity inherent in the I am is eternally present in the seven absolutes, is functionally associated in the trinities, in the triunities, and is transmittively associated in the triodities. But the fact that infinity is thus existentially present in these absolute associations in no way makes it impossible to realize new cosmic experientials. From a finite creature's viewpoint, infinity contains much that is potential, much that is on the order of a future possibility rather than a present actuality.
从存在性立场来看，所有
读那个小标题也读。
二、至高性的绝对基础。从存在性立场来看，所有星系中绝无新事会发生，因为我是中所固有的无限性之完满，在7个绝对中永恒临在，在诸三位一体中职能性的关联，在诸三者一组中传导性的关联。但无限在这些绝对关联中这样存在性的临在这一事实，绝不会使之无法实现新的宇宙经验物。从一个有限受造物的立场来看，无限包含很多潜在的东西，很多那种类似于未来可能性而非当下实现的东西。
So here they're talking about the triunities and the triodities, and in our study group we haven't read about those yet. So we I'd like to reference that. I'll try. I mean, that's a whole other thing. We may want to reference them on our own time, but I think it does talk about the seven absolutes, and all I can remember about the triunities and the triodities, I remember they're pretty complicated, but I think they're just some kind of relative associations of absolute realities or something along those lines, like kind of like trinities. They're definitely like trinities, but they're a triunity is definitely related to a trinity, but something different, and a triodity is something different. So anyway, we don't know. I forget what those are, but I remember reading about them and going, whoa, what is this? But I think what they're trying, we can basically say, but the fact that infinity is thus, okay, from the existential standpoint, nothing new can happen throughout the galaxies. Okay, we understand this. For the completion of infinity inherent in the I am is eternally present in seven absolutes. They're saying, wait, I'll let you translate that, Ricky.
关于三位一体啊、三者一组啊，大概是不是在书的其他部分它有这种具体的定义啊、描述？有点记不清了。
So they're saying that nothing new can happen throughout the galaxies, for the completion of infinity inherent in the I am is eternally present in the seven absolutes, is functionally associated and is transmittively associated. So they're saying nothing new can happen once you have absolutes, which are everything. They're no beginning, no end. They're absolute. They're in infinite realities. Nothing new can happen because it's all inherent in something that is everything. I guess that's what the best way to say it. If a reality exists that is everything, that encompasses everything that has ever been and everything that will be, then nothing new can happen. But we also have experience and evolution. So they're trying to say but the fact that infinity is existentially present in these absolute associations doesn't make it impossible to realize new cosmic experientials. So they're saying there can be nothing new when you have a reality that encompasses everything, but we're still experiencing. So from a finite creature's viewpoint, infinity contains much that is potential, much that is in the order of a future possibility rather than a present actuality. I'll explain that, but I'll let you translate first.
他就说绝对啊，无限，它就是既然是已经完满的，那么好像就没有什么新事物了，对。但是呢，实际上就是无限，它还包含很多潜在的东西，就是类似于用我们有限受到物的时空的概念来说，就说啊，现在还没显现，现在还没出现，然后将来会出现的。就是那个潜在的东西，所以它实际上，有这个经验性在里边，存在是绝对性的，但是它的经验性可以不断的去显化，去继续完满。
So it might be something like, even though I'm just speculating here, even though God is aware of everything that ever has been, that ever will be, he's allowing us to experience things and to use our free will to, and there does exist potentials. So just because there exists a reality in which everything is known does not mean that there isn't potentials that can be experienced within that absolute. Does that make sense, Ricky?
Not quite.
Not too much. So let me think of okay, I've got one. So let's say you wrote a play. Well, you're the author. You know the beginning, you know the middle, and you know the end. But the people that are coming to see the play don't know how it ends. They're allowed to sit and experience it. So they're experiencing it. The actors, all have potential. So they don't know how they're going to act that night. They don't know everything that's going to happen. It might be the best performance of their life. It might be the worst. So there are all these. It's not as simple as everything is known. Everything. There's nothing new in the universe. It's not that simple. Everything is known, sure, by God, but for the rest of us, we're all experiencing it. We're all allowed to reach our potential. We're all allowed to use our free will. So even if God knows that I'm going to make a mistake, I'm still allowed to make it myself and to learn from it. I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. Maybe God does, but I don't. So there's this whole level of experience going on where we're all allowed to experience and everything has potentials. It's not that everything is already defined. There's potential. So things like when we go to the theater and see the play, there's a million different ways it can end. We don't know that until the end. God may know it, but we don't.
比如说有人写一个剧，然后呢，有观众来看这个剧，去体验这个剧。那演员呢，就是来演这个剧。演员演出这剧有可能是最棒的演出，也可能是最坏的演出。就是虽然就是好像宇宙当中并无新物，但是呢，这些受造物呢是允许用他们的自由意志来进行各种的体验和尝試。从他们的所谓错误中汲取经验教训。但是not defined。大概是这个意思吧。就是充分的去这些受造物相当于充分的去展现发展各种的可能性，就是可能性就是那个潜在性。各种的潜在性，这让我想起我们群里边那些讨论。相当于无极到太极到64卦，64卦就是各种的，就是无极和太极当中的潜在性，它就显化了，它可以显化越来越复杂，越来越复杂。但是从根源上，它都是离不开那个太极，再往上离不开那个无极。OK。
They say, but the fact that infinity is existentially present in these associations, absolute associations, does not make it impossible to realize new cosmic experientials. So I think that applies even to higher beings. The next sentence says, from a finite creature's viewpoint, infinity contains much that is potential. But I think that even on higher spiritual levels, but the fact that infinity is thus existentially present doesn't make it impossible to realize new cosmic experientials. The whole we're in this beautiful choreography with the whole grand universe. These universes are all our creators, our creator sons, ancients of days, all of these higher beings are all involved in this creation. So they're all experiencing. It's not like they're just sitting around like, hey, I know everything's going to happen, so it doesn't really matter. They're all involved in this great experience. And that's what the Supreme Being is all about, this reality we're experiencing right now. But then from our point of view, when we think of infinity, it contains much that is potential, much that is on the order of a future possibility rather than a present actuality. So infinity means no end, and that encompasses everything that is potential, everything that can. When we say potential, we mean everything that can be, everything that is possible. So they're telling us that there is an absolute reality, but there's also within that absolute reality, and also, especially from our point of view, that absolute contains potential, everything that can be, that will be, not will be, that can be, that might be, that's potential. So that makes it very exciting for us. But that is part of reality. It's not just our imagination. It's not like the fact that we have free will means that we help determine the future. Even if God knows what we're going to do, we still can make choices. Each one of us is allowed to make choices to be part of the future, to help determine the future.
对，这个经验性不光是我们的这种低等的受造物是需要的，那么实际上高等的存有它也需要这个经验。你像，造物之子啊，然后亘古常在者呀，他们参与造物，他们也是对他们来说也是一个都参与到这种创造的经验当中。这也就是至高存在者他的实相就是在这样的连接，它就是一个经验之神嘛。然后无限性就是包含就是潜在性，就是实际上无限性就包含了，绝对也就是包含这个潜在的。我们就是受造物，其实也帮助这个塑化这个未来。我们的经验帮助这个塑化这个未来，也参与了这个创造。
Now I'll read, Wendy, now I'll read the next 3 paragraphs because they're small. Value is a unique element in universe reality. We do not comprehend how the value of anything infinite and divine could possibly be increased. But we discover that meanings can be modified, if not augmented, even in the relations of infinite deity. To the experiential universes, even divine values are increased as actualities by enlarged comprehension of reality meanings. The entire scheme of universal creation and evolution on all experiencing levels is apparently a matter of the conversion of potentialities into actualities. And this transmutation has to do equally with the realm of space potency, mind potency, and spirit potency. The apparent method whereby the possibilities of the cosmos are brought into actual existence varies from level to level, being experiential evolution in the finite and experiential eventuation in the absonite. Existential infinity is indeed unqualified in all inclusiveness, and this very all-inclusiveness must, perforce, encompass even the possibility of, for evolutionary finite experiencing, and the possibility for such experiential growth becomes a universe actuality through triodity relationships impinging upon and in the supreme. All right.
从这个价值，
价值是宇宙实相中一种独特的元素。我们并不理解任何无限和神性的价值怎么可能得以增加，但我们发现，即便在与无限神灵的关系中，意涵若不能得到扩增，也可得以改变。对于经验性宇宙来说，即便是神圣价值，也会因扩大了对实相意涵的理解，而实际上得以增加。在所有经验性层次上的宇宙创造和进化的整个计划，看似就是一个将潜力现实化的课题，而这一善变与空间支配力、心智支配力和属灵支配力这些领域同等相关。 宇宙可能性得以变成实际存在，无论是有限中的经验性进化，还是觉现中的经验性中规化，它所凭借的外在方式依层次而有所不同。存在性无限的无所不包中，确实是无限定的，乃至这无所不包性必须也必然包含了进化性的有限体验的可能性。而这种经验性成长的可能性，通过影响至高者及其中的这三种三者一组关系，而成为一种宇宙现实。
All right. The first paragraph explains that how could something perfect or infinite and divine increase in value? Well, maybe they can't, but our comprehension of them can. So although something, and we all know this because we experience it every day, for instance, we may know something, but our comprehension of its meaning can keep increasing and increasing and increasing. So the value of the thing may not change, but our comprehension of it can change. So for us, the meaning of this thing can increase as we comprehend it more.
这115.2.2，它主要的意思就是说，这个就是随着我们对实相意涵的理解的增加，那么就是神圣价值也会因而扩大。
They're saying value is a unique element. The Urantia book talks about value a lot. Value is a very important concept in the Urantia book because there are things and then there are values. Like what something is has everything to do with its value. So I'm just making a note that value is a very important concept in this book. We do not comprehend how the value of anything infinite and divine could possibly be increased. Okay, that makes sense. They're saying, how could something become more valuable if it's infinite and if it's divine? How could God become more valuable? Of course he can't, because he's not going to become more important tomorrow than he is today. So we understand that idea. But we discover that meanings can be modified if not augmented. So I said this, I just said this, I'm saying it again because they say that meanings can be modified if not augmented. So they're saying we can't necessarily enlarge the meaning of something or make something mean more, but we can modify our understanding of it. Our understanding of it can be different, can be changed, can be modified. So what we understand when we're a child is not the same as what we understand when we're an adult about the very same thing. It hasn't necessarily increased in value, but our understanding of it, that its meaning for us, can keep changing. I'll leave it at that.
等一下，我的小猫在抠门。Cat is trying to get in.
Are you dealing with Sunny? Sonny,
Yeah, my cat
yes, he's part of this group.
keeps getting in and out. Well, it's very cold outside, but he still look forward to getting outside. And then after that, he get cold, he will try to get in. 就是他说到这个价值嘛，是好像是《预言下之书》一个反复强调的一个概念啊，宇宙实相中一种独特的元素。这个虽然从神性价值那方面来说，就是我们不能理解它怎么增加，或者是否增加，但是呢，就是我们对它的理解哈，它的意涵，它对我们意味着什么，是可以改变的。就像我们小孩儿，当时小孩和成人对某种事物的认识，它一定是不同的哈。然后会改变的，所以他这儿强调就是我们对实相意涵的理解，它可以增加。
They're saying that to the experiential universes, when they say experiential universe, they mean the finite universes, the time and space, our reality, the one we're in now. To the experiential universes, even divine values are increased as actualities. So in the previous sentence, they say, but we discover that meanings can be modified, if not augmented. So they're saying we can change a meaning of something, but we can't necessarily increase it. But then they're saying, but in the finite universe, even values can be increased. Something can become more valuable to us by enlarged comprehension. So even though they're saying that in the absolute level, something cannot have more value than it already has, but on our level, it can have, the value can increase as we comprehend it more.
他就说在绝对的领域实相哈，就是价值可能没有增加，但是在有限的实相，价值实际上是可以增加的。
The next paragraph, the entire scheme of universal creation and evolution on all experiencing levels is apparently a matter of the conversion of potentialities into actualities. So they're saying the entire scheme of universal creation and evolution on all experience, they're saying all of this business of creation, of evolving that we're experiencing now, everything we're experiencing, the whole reality of experiencing and evolving and creating is about making potentials, is converting potentials into actualities. They're saying that's what time space is all about. That's what evolution is all about. We're changing potentials into actuals. That's what growing, learning, becoming is all about. It was all there as a potential, but now we're making it actual.
想要把我OK，就是我们哈，就是进化呀、体验呐、成长啊、学习呀、成为呀，这些整个的这个过程，实际上就是把潜在性现实化的这么一个过程。
So they're saying, and this transmutation has to do with equally with space potency, mind potency, and spirit potency. So they're saying to make an actual, to make a potential into an actual requires an equal amount of space potency, mind potency, and spirit potency. So they're saying that this happens on all levels, on all three levels of reality. It's not just your mind alone or your spirit alone or space potency, which is probably everything physical, who knows. But they're saying all three elements combine to allow us, all of us, to create actuals from potentials. So you can think of it like alchemy or chemistry or biology or art or anything. You're taking, they're looking at it like a they're saying a transmutation. So we don't necessarily, we're saying, oh, we can be anything, oh, what do we want to be? But what they're looking at it differently. They're looking at it like it's already there. Everything you want to be is already there. You have to take that potential and turn it into an actual. They're not saying it comes out of nothing. They're saying it's already there. It's all the potentials are right there. They're inherent. But then it takes more than just your mind or just your spirit to make something out of what we think of as nothing, but what they're saying they're saying you don't just make something out of nothing, you transfigure, you change something from a potential to an actual.
这就是像易经那个易，易经那个易不就是改变变化吗？可以对应这儿的善变。那么怎么样把这个潜在性现实化呢？它是包含了这种要这个跟这个空间支配力、心智支配力、属灵支配力啊这些有关，要运用这些力，然后把潜在，因为潜在已经在那儿了，你就是要把潜在给它转化成现实化，给它带入到现实当中，善变。
So I'm trying to emphasize this because I'm looking at it in a new, the way they're writing this is making me look at it in a new way. I think that I've looked at it the way most of us look at it, which is, hey, what do you want to be? You can be anything. What do you want to do? You can do anything, or anything is possible. And we look at it kind of like, let's start from scratch and make something happen. But they keep emphasizing the point that everything that can be is already there. So it's more like, I think it's almost, when they say transmutation, or like using these three things, mind potency, space potency, spirit potency, to make something happen, they're describing it more as like cooking a meal, and like the ingredients are already on the table. They're not saying, well, let's cook a meal and what do we want to make? Let's go to the store, let's buy the food. They're saying all the ingredients are right there in front of you. You just have to, you have all the ingredients on the table. You can make bread, you could make cookies, you could make cake, you can make all these things out of the same ingredients. These are the potentials. When you look at these ingredients, what potentials do you see? There are endless potentials from just those ingredients. Or maybe you have all the ingredients in the world right in your kitchen. But what they're describing is, they're describing experience as something that you change one thing into another. Rather than you create something from nothing, you're changing one thing into another. They're describing experience as a change.
对，是的 ，Yeah， 他就是说，你这创造并不是真的是无中生有，是从 你比如说它就是利用已经存在的，然后来使某事物产生或者显现。你比如说，就像你在厨房里做一顿饭，然后你那些的那些的料啊什么的都在那儿了，你只是你比如说面粉，你可以用它来做面包啊，做饼干呐、做蛋糕啊。那就是那个面粉它还有其他的佐料，它就是有这种潜力啊，无穷的潜力，让你可以组合，然后做出不同的产品。所以呢，所谓的经验呢，就是实际上就是把一种事物转换成另外一种事物的这么一个过程。
So the last thing I'll say about that is that this is written by a mighty messenger, okay? A very one-time mortal being who's met God, who's gone to paradise, who's in the core of mortal finality, right? So even this author, he or she is saying the apparent method whereby the possibilities of the cosmos are brought into actual experience varies from level to level, being experiential evolution in the finite. This author is saying the apparent method. Even this author isn't completely sure of how this happens, how we experience, what experience is, how we take potentials and make them into actuals. He's saying, he or she is saying, the apparent method are brought into where possibilities are brought into actualities varies from level to level, being experiential evolution in the finite. Okay, for us, it's experiential evolution. We know what that is. We're evolving, we're experiencing. In the next level, it's experiential eventuation. So that's the absentite level. That's where there's no actual beginning. Things just sort of come into being, but they don't have a real start date. That's hard for us to imagine, but it's the next level. It's between finite and absolute. So it's a little different, but they do have experience there. But they call it experiential eventuation instead of experiential evolution. Okay, let's stop.
这个 experiential evolution 就是我们现在在的阶段，就是经验性进化嘛。然后在下一步进化的下一步就叫经验性中规化，就是在觉现实相当中的经验性中规化。所以这个强大使者他不是从凡人一直进化到天堂的这么一个存有嘛？他还是用了这个 apparent 这个词。
The last sentence, existential infinity is indeed unqualified in all inclusiveness. And this very all inclusiveness must perforce encompass even the possibility for evolutionary finite experiencing. So that's saying that if something is everything, if it encompasses everything, all inclusiveness, if existential infinity is unqualified, all inclusive, then that means it has to also include the possibility for finite experiencing. So if it's everything, then it also includes the reality of experiencing within it, within everything. So they're saying it's not one or the other. You could have an evolutionary reality where things evolve, and you can have a reality that everything's already evolved, everything's already happened. The end is in the beginning's in the end. They're saying if something is everything, it will include a reality that's evolving, that's experiencing. That's included in something that is all inclusive.
说无所不包，存在性无限，在无所不包中。这个如果真是无所不包，那么它也应该是包含了进化性有限体验的可能性。
And the possibility for such experiential growth becomes a universe actuality through triodity relationships impinging upon and in the Supreme. The Supreme Being is all about that experiential growth, becoming a universe actuality. So, whereas each individual is evolving, our whole life, our whole reality is about evolving, is about experiencing, it's about becoming. The Supreme is that same concept, but for the whole grand universe. Everything in all reality that's being experienced, that's evolving, that's changing, that's becoming something from something, or becoming more, that's manifesting potential, is happening in the Supreme, and because of the Supreme, and because of the relationship of everything in the grand universe to the Supreme.
对，是至高在至高者，它就是一个经验性，表达的是一个经验性的成长的宇宙实相。那么整个的大宇宙来讲，就是至高存在者的大舞台嘛，它就是在不断的变化，不断的显化这个潜在性，像我们一样也不断的进化、体验和成为。通过这三者一组的关系，三者一组应该找到相关的这个篇章，应该再复习一下，或者再去学习一下。不知道在哪里，可以查一下在哪里提到三者一组。
So the next section is number 3, original, actual, and potential. And I'll read three paragraphs, Wendy, and read nice and loud. But I just want to say first, Ricky, that the reason we're talking so much about actuals and potentials and experiencing is because that's what the Supreme is about. So all these papers are going to be about something about this, somehow related to this, because that is what the Supreme is about. In all of reality, they're all the creators, and there's God, and there's the Trinity, but the Supreme is the aspect of God and the God that is about our evolution in the grand universe, and about making potentials into actuals. So that's why they keep explaining it again and again in different ways, because that is the nature of the Supreme. That's the purpose of the Supreme and the function of the Supreme.
Yeah. 对，他为什么就是反复的强调这个现实性啊、潜在性啊？因为这个至高存在者哈，他是神的表达神的这一部分，他就是将这个现实性不是将潜在性带入现实化，在我们的大宇宙当中，在不断的 进化，就表达了这种进化的过程，也就是把潜在性现实化的一个过程。这个就是这个神之至高者它的基本的功能和目的。
So, number 3, original, actual, and potential. I'll read 3 paragraphs. The absolute cosmos is conceptually without limit. To define the extent and nature of this primal reality is to place qualifications upon infinity and to attenuate the pure concept of eternity. The idea of the infinite eternal, the eternal infinite, is unqualified in extent and absolute in fact. There is no language in the past, present, or future of Urantia adequate to express the reality of infinity or the infinity of reality. Man, a finite creature in an infinite cosmos, must content himself with distorted reflections and attenuated conceptions of that limitless, boundless, never beginning, never ending existence, the comprehension of which is really beyond his ability. Next paragraph. Mind can never hope to grasp the concept of an absolute without attempting first to break the unity of such a reality. Mind is unifying of all divergencies, but in the very absence of such divergencies, mind finds no basis upon which to attempt to formulate understanding concepts. The primordial status of infinity requires segmentation prior to human attempts at comprehension. There is a unity in infinity which has been expressed in these papers as the I am, the premier postulate of the creature mind. But never can a creature understand how it is that this unity becomes duality, triunity, and diversity while yet remaining an unqualified unity. Man encounters a similar problem when he pauses to contemplate the undivided deity of Trinity alongside the plural personalization of God. Okay.
前3段小标题也念。
原初的、现实的和潜在的。绝对宇宙在概念上是没有限制的。去定义这原初实相的范围和本质，就是将限制置于无限之上，将纯粹的永恒性概念降格。无限、永恒、永恒、无限的概念的观念，在范围上是无限定的，在事实上是绝对的。预染下的过去、现在或是未来，都没有任何语言足以表达无限性的实相或是实相的无限性。人类，无限宇宙中的一种有限受造物，必定会满足于自己对那无限、无边、无始无终存在的扭曲印象和降格的概念。要理解这样的存在，这的确超出了他的能力。心智永远别指望理解绝对者概念，除非他尝试首先打破这一实相的统一性。心性统一着所有的分歧，但在没有了这些分歧时，心智便找不到借以试图形成理解概念的基础。在人类试图要理解之前，无限之初始静止态需要分割。无限中存在着一种统一性，在这些篇章中被表达为我是受造物心智的首要假设。但受造物永远无法理解 何以这种统一性会在保留一种无限定统一性的同时，变成二元性、三元性和多样性？人类在停下来思考三位一体这不可分神灵伴随神之多元人格化身时，会遇到类似的问题。
谢谢。
All right. So I think it's not, it's nice to keep in mind that this is written by a one-time mortal being, because when all of these other authors say, well, you can't really understand this and everything, that's one thing. But this guy was immortal. He came from a planet like Earth and was a human being. Well, I don't know if it's a human being, but immortal on some planet, and then worked his way all the way up, and now he's a mighty messenger, this very, very high spiritual being. So I'm going to say he, but it could be she. So he completely understands how we think better than any other author in this book. He was a mortal being. So when he tells us what we can't understand and can't comprehend, he knows he was immortal. Keep that in mind.
对，我们要记着，然后这个作者呢，他是曾经是凡人，他是曾经生活在一个类似地球的地方，然后一点一点扬升到天堂的这么一个存有。那么他非常了解自己在说什么。当他说有限受造物存在哪些理解的局限的时候，对，应该比较信实的一个判断。
So the last sentence of the first paragraph is, man, a finite creature in an infinite cosmos, must content himself with distorted reflections and attenuated conceptions of that limitless, boundless, never beginning, never ending existence, the comprehension of which is really beyond his ability. So he's telling us, when we talk about the infinite, the eternal, the absolute, we as a mortal finite being cannot comprehend it. We are a finite being. We're born in a finite reality. We can't comprehend something with no beginning and no ending, something that is everything. So we're just going to have to settle for a partial understanding, a distorted reflection, an attenuated concept. Attenuate means to thin out, to reduce, to simplify, it's not the whole. So our understanding is going to be attenuated. It's going to be distorted. It's going to be limited. So that's just how it's going to be. We have to be aware of that.
对，那么我们就是作为有限的物质存有，那么对这个无限、无边、无始、无终啊这些的概念，如何这个存在有这样的无始无终呢？也许就只能有一些扭曲的、有限的、降格的、稀释的理解，这个是不可避免的。
The third sentence is, in this paragraph, is, there is no language. This is interesting. There is no language in the past, present, or future of Urantia adequate to express the reality of infinity or the infinity of reality. I like that. The reality of infinity. Okay, so what is infinite? What's the reality? And then the infinity of reality. Well, then you have reality and it's infinite. You have in infinity, which has its own. So it's nice the way they say that. But what they're saying is, which is interesting. There's no language in the past, present. They're saying in the past, in the times of Caligastia, Adam and Eve, there was never any language in the past. There certainly isn't any in the present. And they're telling us there will never be any language in the future of Urantia, no matter how evolved we get, when we're settled in light and life, when people live to be 500 years old, when we're all spiritual after Jesus comes back. They're saying there will never be any language on this planet that can express absoluteness, the infinity of reality, the reality of infinity. Never will be. We'll never have language for that in this finite planet.
就是在我们这个物质星球啊，他就说过去不会有，将来也不会有这个语言能够来表达，足以表达无限性的实相和实相的无限性。
They're saying, man, a finite creature in an infinite cosmos, must content himself. So they're saying we must be satisfied with this partial understanding.
下一句就是我们也就满足于这个扭曲的西式的这种概念性的理解吧。
Now they explain how we can attempt to understand it. So that's the second paragraph. Mind can never hope to grasp the concept of an absolute without attempting first to break the unity of such a reality. Mind is unifying of all divergencies, but in the very absence of such divergencies, mind finds no basis upon which to attempt to formulate understandings. Do you understand that, Ricky, what they're trying to say? Mind is unifying of all divergencies? What do you think they mean by that? I'm not quite sure. Maybe I should look up divergencies. Maybe I'm having trouble with the word
divergencies is related to breaking the unity of such a reality. So it is like the Western medicine. He tried to understand life by separate the whole body into different organs, and then research each organs in order to understand the body. And so he tried to split first, and then try to relate each parts to a whole body. It is like the mind is unifying of all divergencies. So he has to kind of recognize the difference and the parts first. So without splitting the whole into parts, the mind, it cannot grasp any or gain any understanding about the whole body. So
yeah, I can see it's so divergence, the development of dissimilar traits or features as a body structure or behavior in closely related population, species, or lineages of common. So I know what divergence means. But
it's just like it's understand, there are no life and life and life, and there are plants, animals,
all the differences.
Yeah, so the mind works based on recognize the difference and divergencies.
Yeah.
Without that, mind cannot function at all. Mind always try to form different concepts, and then do relationship, association between concepts in order for it to work properly. So and make inferences.
Yeah. So they're saying in order to grasp, mind can never hope to grasp the absolute concept without attempting to break the, so in order for us to, first they say we'll never really understand it. Secondly, they're saying to attempt to understand it, our mind has to break it down into the divergent parts, all the differences, the different aspects. So, and then they're saying mind is unifying of all divergencies, but in the very absence of such divergencies, mind finds no basis upon which to attempt to formulate the understanding. So they're saying, I'm not quite sure what they mean by, well, maybe the primordial season being in the very absent, maybe they're saying that in this case it's very hard, it's particularly difficult because we can't really distinguish the differences. If everything in absoluteness, in infinity, in eternity, it's hard to distinguish the divergencies, because it says mind is unifying of all divergencies, but in the very absence of such divergencies, mind finds no basis on which to attempt to formulate. So I think you can help me here, but I think they're saying it's in the very absence of such divergencies that it's hard for us to break it apart and see the differences in something that is so complete and so whole and so absolute. Do you think that's what they're saying?
No, that means without relying on divergences, we are not able to form any concepts.
Yeah.
That's why the mind has to have divergences first, have to divide the whole cake into pieces.
Yeah, but why are they saying, but in the very absence of such divergencies? Are they saying that the absolute, the infinite, that we can't perceive the divergencies?
No, it's just says that if we don't break the unity into divergencies,
Oh, okay.
we are
Okay.
not able.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, they're saying in the very absence. So if we don't do that, we're not
Yeah,
able to.
Right.
We have to do that in order to unify
Yes.
it. Okay,
Yes.
I get it.
That's the essential tool for the mind to work.
Yes. Okay, I get it. And then the next paragraph is the primordial stasis of infinity requires segmentation prior to human
hold on.
attempt. Yeah, same thing.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on, I have to translate
Okay.
first, so you can
Sure.
go ahead and read through. 就是这一段啊，第二段嘛，第三部分的第二段啊，就是说心智它是怎么工作的，它就必须把整体切割成部分，然后部分的去认识，然后在这个基础上来去建立假设部分之间的关系啊，来对更大的整体做出认识。它必须要先切割这个头脑，我们的小我的头脑就是这样运作的。它不把它没有概念，因为只要有概念，它就是一个分割的啊，这就是一个离开整体的。它这个概念总是说，哎，这个东西有别于其他的啊，它在这种分别的基础上去认识事物，所以它一定是分裂的嘛啊，所以这小我它很难这个去想象这个绝对的概念啊，一体的概念。所以它是肯定它是这样子的，它就是基于分裂，基于分歧去理解概念啊，做出推断啊。这段是讲
Vicky， 我可不可以问个问题？
可以啊，
就是这个心智，这个 mind 指的是小我，我就想确认一下，是吗？
是的，是就小我的心智怎么样运作的，相当于。因为人都是三个部分嘛，是身心灵，那个心就是心智啊，你说，
然后灵就是大我
啊，对，你可以先这么假设也是对的。 spirit 灵，你可以这么想。
哦，就是在这本书里，如果他提到那个大我的话，他会用 spirit，是吗？
不是，在这个里边它没有大我的概念，在预染下之书当中，关于灵，它这个很多意义啊，你可以说认为这是我们这个，在身心灵这个概念，这个组合里边，那个灵，实际上是那个思想调整者，就是那个神的，就是父的片段内住我们的部分。但是呢，就是当耶稣来到地上之后，他离开之后，他又降下了真理之灵，然后就帮助我们认识真理。那还有那个三位一体当中，圣父、圣子、圣灵，圣灵的概念呢，又是一个运作的概念，又是一个在奇迹课程也是，它是相当于连接我们的小我和高我的，它这么之间的这么一个桥梁。所以它这灵的概念是很不是光一个大我，这个预言下之书当中，它是不是大我小我的概念，我们只是说因为学习不同的灵性体系嘛，我们可以把这个头脑心智这个对应到这个比如说奇迹课程它的小我去，这个是可以帮助我们理解。
好的，我慢慢再感受一下。
好的，
随着阅读，好，谢谢。
Am I missing anything?
No, just
Okay.
Wendy asked about whether the mind is kind of corresponding to the ego in other, spiritual study materials. Yeah.
Because this whole thing about understanding the infinite from a finite point of view is they're gonna keep talking about it throughout this whole section. So they're gonna try to explain these things to us. But all I can say is I'm just glad a mighty messenger is writing this, because at least we know that he truly understands the way we think and is really trying to help us. This is a very difficult paper for this mighty messenger to write, because he's basically trying to explain to us what we can never understand and why, and how we can attempt to understand it, and how partial and distorted that attempt will be.
对，他很高兴这个文是那个强大使者写的，因为他知道我们的思维方式，那么他可以比较有效的向我们解释这个来龙去脉，但是也只能我们就是说强调我们的头脑只能就是部分的了解实相，不可能完全的了解绝对的实相。
The last paragraph in, not the last, the third paragraph is, the primordial stasis of infinity requires segmentation prior to human attempts at comprehension. Okay, we've just gone over that. They're saying that we have to segment something that is so large. We have to segment in our minds in order to understand it. And in the previous section, when they were talking about reality of concept frames in section 1, they were telling us how we have to put everything into a frame of context. Now they're telling us that we have to separate things into sections, into divergencies, into differences in order. So first they were telling us we have to put things into frames, into context. And now they're saying if something is so big like infinity or absoluteness, we have to put it into segments. So it's two different things, but they're very closely related.
以前呢，他大概提过我们人类头脑的 理解概念必须要放在上下文的一个环境、一个对比的框架当中去理解。这一部分他又提到，我们必须要把整体切割成一部分一部分的、片段片段的，然后再去慢慢理解。
The second sentence is, there is a unity in infinity, which has been expressed in these papers as the I am, the premier postulate of the creature mind. So, as I said a little while ago, and they're just saying that the unity of infinity is expressed in these papers as the I am. And that's also the I am is also the personality of God. So it's everything included. It's God, the person, and all of absolute reality is contained in the words. They're saying that they express it. They express that whole concept to us in these papers as the I am.
对，就是说表达神性的表达，有时候往往用这个词叫 I am， 我是来表达，是表达的绝对的实相。
So and the reason they do that is because the I am means that if it's always the I am, then it's always the present. In the future, in the past, it's always the same thing. It's not like they're saying, they say that it's kind of a hard concept to understand. Why do they call it the I am? Because we tend to call it I was, I am, I will be. And they're saying, no, I am. It's always I am. It's always, there is no past and present.
所以这个我是这个概念呢，就是说，那表达的是过去、现在、未来，永远都是这样子的。而我们表达一个人小人格的，我们就是用过去时啊 ，I was， 我现在怎么样啊 ，I am， 我将来怎么样啊 ，I will be。但是呢，就表达神的人格的时候，就是 I am， 就是我是。
Then they're saying, even if we can understand the I am, even if we can sort of grasp the idea of one great, infinite, endless being or reality or God, but never can a creature understand how it is that this unity becomes duality, triunity, and diversity while yet remaining in unqualified unity. They're saying we'll never understand the Trinity, how God can become duality or Trinity, and yet still be unity, still be one, also be two, also be three. We'll never understand that. I certainly won't.
对，我们这个永远无法理解这种一元性，怎么会保留统一的同时还能变成二元、三元、多元？我们就受造物是无法理解的。
And they say, but never can a creature understand how it is that this unity becomes duality, triunity, and diversity while yet remaining in unqualified unity. So it's not just duality or trinity, it's triunity, it's diversity. So God is all things are God, but God is one. God is God. That they're saying that's an impossible concept for us to really understand.
就是万物是一，一是万物，就是这种在统一当中又有多元，又是代表这个就是无限定统一这个概念很难理解。
And then it says that man encounters a similar problem when he pauses to contemplate the undivided deity of Trinity alongside the plural personalization of God. So they're saying when we try to comprehend the Trinity, it's the undivided deity of Trinity. The Trinity is God, is the Trinity. It's one, there is one God. We don't say we have many gods. We say we have one God, and yet we have the Trinity. So there's a plural personalized. God is personalized in three beings, but it's one God, but it's three beings in that God. There's three gods in one. We can't understand that. We'll never understand that. I certainly can't understand that. But
对，那三位一体神怎么又是同一个神啊？同一个神怎么又是三位一体？对，这个也是有限受造物很难理解的概念。
okay, I'll read the next paragraph. I'm just going to read the next paragraph. It is only man's distance from infinity that causes this concept to be expressed as one word. While infinity is on the one hand unity, on the other, it is diversity without end or limit. Infinity, as it is observed by finite intelligences, is the maximum paradox of creature philosophy and finite metaphysics. Though man's spiritual nature reaches up in the worship experience to the Father who is infinite, man's intellectual comprehension capacity is exhausted by the maximum conception of the Supreme Being. Beyond the Supreme, concepts are increasingly names. Less and less are they true designations of reality. More and more do they become the creature's projection of finite understanding toward the super infinite. All right.
正是人类与无限之间的距离，导致这一概念被表达为一个词。在一方面，无限性是统一性；在另一方面，它又是没有终结或限制的多样性。在有限制性存有对无限性的观察中，无限性是受造物哲学和有限形而上学的最大悖论。尽管人类的灵性本质在对无限上父的崇拜体验中向上伸展，但人类的智性理解能力却因至高存在者的最高概念而耗尽。超出至高者以外，概念逐渐成为名称，越来越少只称实相，越来越多的成为受造物对超限之有限理解的投射。
It is only man's distance from infinity that causes this concept to be expressed as one word. So they're saying that if we weren't so far, we're finite creatures. If we weren't so far from infinity, we wouldn't have one word for it. It would be, we would conceive of it and see it as something very different than the way we do. We're so far away from it. We just call it, we have one word for it, infinity. They're saying if we were closer to it, we wouldn't have just one word for it. Ricky?
Oh, I didn't get it. What did you explain?
So, well, like maybe it's something like we're so far, when we look at the sky, we see stars, right? But each star is maybe a whole solar system. But we see it as one thing because we're so far away from it. So we call it a star. We have a name for it. A2G34. That's the name of that star. But they're saying if we were closer to it, we wouldn't have just one word for it. We'd see it as a whole. We'd see it as something very different. So they're saying we're so, as finite creatures, we're so far from infinity that we just call it one word, infinity. But that encompasses so much. But we just call it infinity.
说这个因为我们这有限数造物跟无限之间距离很大嘛，所以呢，我们只用这么一个词无限性去代表它，但是可能比如说我们老远看见一个星星，我们就把它念为一个星星，但是走近一看，可能是整一个太阳系或者银河系就不止一个词能表达了。
They're saying it's, on the one hand, it's unity. Infinity is unity. It's everything unified. On the other hand, it's diversity without end or limit. Ultimate endless diversity.
所以这个无限性既是一体的，它又是多元多样的。
Infinity, as it is observed by finite intelligence, is the maximum paradox of creature philosophy and finite metaphysics. They're saying infinity is the ultimate paradox. As in terms of human philosophy and metaphysics, there is no greater paradox for us to try to comprehend than infinity. It's the ultimate paradox because it's unity and it's also endless diversity. So that's a paradox. It's two different things. And as far as what our minds are capable of thinking, there is no greater paradox for us to try to understand than infinity.
还是一样，就是那个无限性怎么跟这个在无限性里边，还是就是一体跟多样性的最大的悖论，就是我们能理解的哲学上的最大的悖论，就是我们很难理解，其实怎么有一体，怎么有无限。
Then they're saying that through worship, so on a spiritual level, we can comprehend God. We comprehend God through worship. Though man's spiritual nature reaches up in the worship experience to the Father who is infinite, man's intellectual comprehension capacity is exhausted by the maximum concept of the Supreme Being. So mentally, we can't comprehend God past the concept of the Supreme Being. Spiritually, through worship, we can comprehend God the Father. But only through worship.
说人是通过敬拜神来理解神、了解神。
You don't want to say the whole thing?
然后并且就是神，我们对神的理解力是仅止于这个至高存在者的，我们对那个无限上父的，就我们达不到那个高度，所以这个只能对这个中间神，就是这个进化之神至高存在者 就是这个我们的智性只能理解到这一步。
Remember last week I said, in a way, the Supreme Being is our God. It's like there's God up in paradise. He's so far from us. He's so beyond our comprehension. But then there's the Supreme Being, which is like closer to us. He's like the finite God. It's almost as if God gave us our own God. And they're saying here the same thing. They're saying we can comprehend the Supreme Being. We can't mentally comprehend God. It's just beyond our capacity. But we can comprehend the Supreme Being, which is also God, but it's the finite God. It's the God that's concerned with us, particularly our level of reality.
对，那么至高者之神呢，也是正好跟我们这有限的实相来就是紧密的接触的，所以跟我们的，所以我们能理解的这个神的最高概念，相当于他是我们的父，那这天堂的天父就离我们太远了，我们是理解力是没办法企及那么远的实相。
And then this is interesting too. They're saying beyond the Supreme, concepts are increasingly names. Less and less are they true designations of reality. More and more do they become the creature's projection of finite understanding toward the super finite, which is the infinite. So they're saying beyond the Supreme, the realities that are more spiritual, further from us than the Supreme Being, become increasingly names. What they mean by that is we have names for them. We can talk about them. We can designate words for them, but they're saying that they're only words to us. We can't really understand the reality of those words, what they mean. So what we do is at that point, we project finite understanding toward the superfinite. We start projecting our own interpretations of them, which are finite, which are limited, which are distorted. So until we get to the Supreme, when we're talking about Jesus, our creator sons, the angels, the ancients of days, everything within the realm of the Supreme, we can mentally comprehend. But past that, it becomes less and less realistic. Our understanding becomes more and more limited. More and more are we projecting things we do understand onto something we don't understand. So we're not really seeing it for what it is. We're making up ideas based on what we can comprehend because it's beyond our comprehension.
对，所以就是说，在我们不能理解的那些的，更超过这个超过有限的这个介于的那个实相，我们就是可以给它命名啊，也可以讨论它呀，也可以谈论它，但是没有对它的实际的理解。因为他们对我们来说越来越不实际。我们只能把我们理解的概念投射到这些概念上面。
So they're really, really trying to explain this whole idea of the original, the actual, and the potential to us. They're really trying to explain in terms that we will understand what experience is, because the Supreme is all about evolution and experience. So the rest of this section is they're trying again and again to explain to us what experience actually is. And I'll let you translate.
对，因为这个神之至高者是一个经验之神嘛，那么他这个最进一步的去解释很多关于经验是什么。
And they're saying that in order to understand experience, we have to put it in the context of the absolute, because experience can only exist in the absolute.
对，为了了解经验性，必须要了解绝对性。
So I'm going to read the next paragraph talks about the original, the actual, and the potential, and then I'm going to read the next two paragraphs, and then I'm going to take a break for 1 minute and be right back while you're reading it in Chinese. Okay. One basic conception of the absolute level involved the postulate of three. One basic conception of the absolute level involves a postulate of three phases. Number one, the original. Number two, the actual. Number three, the potential. Okay. Number one, the original. The unqualified concept of the first source and center, that source manifestation of the I am from which all reality takes origin. Number two, the actual. The union of the three absolutes of actuality, the second, third, and paradise sources and centers. This triodity of the eternal Son, the infinite Spirit, and the paradise isle constitutes the actual revelation of the originality of the first source and center. Number three, the potential. The union of the three absolutes of potentiality, the deity, unqualified, and universal absolutes. This triodity of existential potentiality constitutes the potential revelation of the originality of the first source and center. And then I'll read the next two paragraphs. The interassociation of the original, the actual, and the potential yield the tensions within infinity, which result in the possibility of all universe growth. And growth is the nature of the sevenfold, the supreme, and the ultimate. In the association of the deity, universal, and unqualified absolutes, potentiality is absolute, while actuality is emergent. In the association of the second, third, and paradise sources and centers, actuality is absolute, while potentiality is emergent. In the originality of the first source and center, we cannot say that either actuality or potentiality is either existent or emergent. The Father is. I'm going to read a couple more paragraphs. From the time viewpoint, the actual is that which was and is. The potential is that which is becoming and will be. The original is that which is. From the eternity viewpoint, the differences between the original, the actual, and the potential are not thus apparent. These triune qualities are not so distinguished on paradise eternity levels. In eternity, all is, only has all yet not been revealed in time and space. From a creature's viewpoint, actuality is substance, potentiality is capacity. Actuality exists centermost and expands therefrom into peripheral infinity. Potentiality comes inward from the infinity periphery and converges at the center of all things. Originality is that which first causes and then balances the dual motions of the cycle of reality, metamorphosis from potentials to actuals, and the potentializing of existing actuals. Good luck with that one. All right,
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay. 都32。Wendy，你要不要？你急不急着休息啊？要急着休息，我来读。
哦，没关系的。
好的，它就是从3.5到32。
对绝对层次的一种基本概念涉及3个方面的假设：一、原初的；二、现实的；三、潜在的。原初的，对第一本源与中心的无限定概念，我是的源头显化，所有实相都源自我是。现实的，3个现实绝对的结合，即第二本源与中心、第三本源与中心和天堂本源与中心的结合，永恒之子、无限之灵和天堂岛这3者一组，构成了对第一本源与中心之原初性的实际展现。3潜在的，3个潜在绝对的结合，即神灵绝对、无限定绝对和万有性绝对的结合，存在性、潜在这3者一组，构成了对第一本源与中心之原初性的潜在展现。原初的、现实的和潜在的之间的相互关联，在无限中产生了张力，带来一切宇宙成长的可能性，而成长是七重者、至高者和终极者的本质。在神灵绝对、万有性绝对和无限定绝对的关联中，潜力是绝对的，而现实是初心的。在第二本源与中心、第三本源与中心和天堂本源与中心的关联中，现实是绝对的，而潜力是初心的。在第一本源与中心的原初性方面，我们无法说现实或潜力是存在性的还是初心的，上复就是。从时间的立场来看，现实即过去之所是和现在之所是，潜在的是正在成为和未来将是的，原初的即如是。从永恒的立场来看，原初的、现实的和潜在的之间的差异并非如此明显。这些3联品质在天堂永恒层次上并非如此显著，在永恒中一切如是，一切只是还未在时空中得以展现。从受造物立场来看，现实是事实基础，潜力是能力。现实存在于最中央，并从那儿扩展到外围无限中。潜力从无限性外围往内而来，汇聚在万物中心。原初性是先引发，继而平衡这双重运动，从潜力到现实的实相蜕变循环，以及将存在的现实潜在化。3个潜在绝对在纯永恒的宇宙层。
好像就到12。
OK。
我记得它就读到10，这不是阴阳变化吗？从潜力到现实，再从现实到潜力，不就是阴阳互动？就是那个阴阳图所表达。原初性就是无极啊，然后太极就是阴阳，然后这3个嘛，原初、现实和潜在，就是一个阴阳图。
Just so you know, I just wanted you to know I am back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we are done reading the
Okay.
paragraph.
All right. So you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So not that bad.
There
They're
are a
saying-
lot of triodity. There are
Yeah,
so now we know what triodity.
yeah. It's great. I'm really glad that they explained what the triodity is, because there's another section earlier in the book that explains it, and I didn't want to go back and have to read that whole other section. So here they tell us. So they're saying one basic conception. Well, before I say this, I want to say something else. I want to just say that I think one thing that they're trying to explain to us here is that there are different levels of reality, but they're trying to tell us that not only are there different levels of reality, but each level of reality views reality differently. Does that make sense?
对，他就说哈，实相有不同的层次，那每一个层次呢，又可以把实相就是有不同的观点、不同的视角。
So they're trying to tell us that we view reality from a finite perspective, but when you're not in a finite reality, you see reality from a completely different perspective. It's different. You see it completely differently.
我们有限视角，就是有限性这个层次呢，这个视角，然后你就是在另外的层次，可能又是这个实相又完全不同。
So we have to view reality from our finite perspective, but we should keep in mind that it's just the way we're viewing it. It's not that when we enter other higher realities, we'll see it differently. We should keep that in mind. We should know that it's like an interpretation. What we're seeing is like an interpretation of reality so that we can comprehend it, so that it makes sense to us, but it's not necessarily the ultimate version of reality.
对。那我们所认为的实相，然后在我们更高的层次看，也许完全不同的解释，不同的理解。我们要把这种，这个，其他的，版本的实相的解释，要时刻记在心里，就是有别的版本的解释，对实相。
The Urantia book, we talked about this last week. The Urantia book talks about scaffolding all the time. It's always talking about scaffolding, because you have to build scaffolding to build the building. But then once the building is built, it has elevators inside and stairs. You don't need the scaffolding anymore. You don't need to go outside the building and put in the windows and put on the outside. It's already there. You tear the scaffolding down. So what a lot of the way we comprehend the universe is scaffolding. It helps us to understand the bigger picture. But once we're at higher levels of understanding, we won't need the scaffolding anymore. We'll get rid of it.
玉书也总是强调脚手架。那么脚手架是在我们建筑高楼的时候的一个临时的借手，然后呢，等建好了之后，那个拆除了，我们内部有电梯，可以让我们上上下下，没有必要再继续借助窗外的脚手架。那么，我们的理解力啊，就是在更大的图画里边是不一样的。
They say one basic conception of the absolute level involves the postulate of three phases. They're saying one basic conception. They're not saying this is how it is. They're saying you can look at it this way. Here's a basic conception that you might understand. They're not saying they're not saying the absolute level involves 3 phases. They're not saying that. They're saying one way of conceiving it, one way of looking at it, one way. There's other ways, but here's one you might understand.
他就是以下讲的呢，就是他给出一个概念的架构，可以用这样一个概念的架构去理解啊，就是一个脚手架的一个那个啊，只是说，哎，我提供你这样一个介手啊，你可以拿这种方式来加强一下理解。
And here is this one basic conception of the absolute. Number 1, the original. Oh, I read this already. Okay, so I'm just interpreting it. All right. Number 1, the original. The unqualified concept of the first source and center, that source manifestation of the I am, from which all reality takes origin. We understand, so we can understand the original, the first source and center. We totally can. Now they're saying on higher levels, they don't even look at it this way because they don't believe in beginnings. They, this is too good. I'll just say, we can understand the original. We understand the concept of a first source and center, the thing which everything else comes from. That's the original.
对，我们说到原初的，就是说这个概念，它就是一切的实相，所有的实现都来自这个原初的最起初的源头。
The second one is the actual. So they're saying the original is what everything came from. The actual is what exists now.
那第二个现实的就是现在存在的。
Then they're telling us that the triadity, a triadity is the eternal Son, the infinite Spirit, and the paradise isle. In other words, from the original came the triadity. It's when the original, I'll say created, but it's not that simple. He didn't just create the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit and the Isle of Paradise because they always were eternal, so they didn't have beginnings. So when you say create, it's not really accurate, but I'll say it just to explain this paragraph, okay? You can
对
translate.
对，这里边就是提到第三者一组啊，这个原初的，然后呢，他创造了啊，全启用创造了这个词，三者一组，包括永恒之子、无限之灵和天堂岛，构成对第一本源与中心的实际展现，就是相当于这三者一组呢，实际上现实化了这个原初的我是，也就是第一本源与中心的我是。
We could say that the original I am, the first source and center, the result of that was the eternal Son, the infinite Spirit, and the Isle of Power. Once you had the infinite Spirit and the eternal Son in conjunction with the I am, with the God the Father, once you had those three, then you had the Isle of Paradise. And yet, remember, they keep reminding us that everything was the Father's will. So it didn't just happen, but it happened, but it didn't just happen. It was the Father's will, but it did happen. And it is the result. Like like you get a mother and a father, the result is a child. A child is born. That cannot happen without the mother and a child on our planet. A child can't just be born. It has to be the result of a mother and father. And it can't be just a mother or just a father. So the Isle of Paradise is the result of God the Father, the Eternal Son, and the Infinite Spirit. So the triodity is those three things that manifested as a result or as the will of the Father, of God the Father, the I Am, the original source and center.
对，那么这个天堂岛是怎么诞生的？它是永恒之子无限之灵，然后诞生了天堂岛。那么它的诞生是天父的旨意，他就像孩子，他不可，他没有父亲和母亲的共同的意愿，他不会生出来。这个三者一组，这个永恒之子无限之灵天堂岛这个三者一组，就是天赋 I am 我是的实际展现。
So the original is the I Am, the God the Father, the source and center. The triodity is the Infinite Spirit, the Eternal Son, and the Isle of Paradise. They're like I can only say the Isle of Paradise is not a person. The Infinite Spirit and the Eternal Son are people, are personalities. The Isle of Paradise is a place, but it's a magical spiritual place. It's still a result. Like it's like God. You could think of God as an idea, and he had to express himself. He had to express who he is, physically, spiritually, mentally, in all of his aspects. So you have the Son, the Spirit, and the Isle of Paradise is the place, the visual. Because you can't really see the sun. I mean, you can see the sun and the spirit, I suppose, if you're on a very, very high level. But the Isle of Paradise, once you have the Isle of Paradise, the whole thing becomes physical. It becomes real on a whole different level.
Mm. 对，天堂岛呢，它不是一个人哈，那个不是人格，永恒之子、无限之灵就更是人格。那么天堂岛是一个地方，是一个结果，那么可以比喻为就是，天赋它就是一个主意，一个 idea，一个 idea 呢，它是寻求表达的，寻求自我的表达的，那么它要在就相当于身心灵三方面都表达嘛。那反正灵那部分就让上子表达了。然后那个天堂岛大概就是一个物质的表达，相当于对应是身，然后就是上灵无限之灵是对应的是那个mental 心智。
To put it in a very basic analogy, you could say when God created the Infinite Spirit and the Eternal Son, he created a world for them to live on. So it's like if a mother and a father have a baby, they also need a world for it to live on. It's not going to just be floating around in just an idea, a concept. It's got to be. So at the same time, it was like, let's have a mother, let's have a father, let's have a baby. so that they can have a baby, and let's have a world for it all to live on. That's kind of like the idea of the Isle of Paradise. Let's have a place for all of it to exist on.
就是上父诞生了永恒之子和无限之灵，那么还要给他们一个地方住，所以就是天堂岛。
It's like it's manifestation. It's like all these ideas and spiritual realities need to manifest. They need to suddenly become actual personalities and entities and places, and so that everyone on every level can understand it and relate to it, because that's just the beginning. From that triodity of paradise, the Son, and the Spirit, all of the master universes are going to be created. So that's still the original universe, and then everything comes from that. But you need that. You need God in order to have the infinite spirit, the eternal Son, and the Isle of Paradise. And you need that triodity in order to have the grand universe. And you need the grand universe in order to have the unfolding universes of outer space. So everything needs the thing before it in order to manifest.
那么这个原初的宇宙就是这个三者一组成了一个样板一样的，其他的主宇宙都是这么诞生的，超级宇宙、大宇宙、主宇宙都是按照这个模板来诞生的。
It's like cause and effect.
这是一个大的因果。
Number 3, the potential, the union of the three absolutes of potentiality, the deity, unqualified, and universal absolutes. This triodity of existential potentiality constitutes the potential revelation of the originality of the first source and center. So the potential revelation. So the union of the three absolutes of potentiality, the deity, unqualified, and universal absolutes. This triodity of existential potentiality causes a potential revelation. Well, I think it's just the the potential revelation of the originality of the first. I think that they're just explaining that the potential is every aspect of God expressing all of the potentials of reality.
潜在性实相嘛，潜在性实相。 又一个三者一组，这就包括这个神灵绝对、无限定绝对、万有性绝对。
They're saying that this is another triodity. That the one triodity was the Son, the Spirit, and the Isle of Paradise, and that's the actual, and that's a triodity. The potential is another triodity. The three absolutes of potentiality: the deity, unqualified, and universal absolutes. So there are three aspects of the absolute: the deity absolute, God, which is really God the Father, I think, and then the unqualified, which we've read about, and the universal absolutes. So then they're saying that this triodity is the potential revelation of the originality of the person, the potential revelation of the potential revelation. This is the first source and center, but all of the potential of the first source and center.
对，就是这三者一组代表的是第一本源语中心的原初性的潜在展现。Can we see that the God, the deity absolute,无限定句 unqualified absolute, so the eternal Son manifests the deity absolute, unqualified absolute, the paradise isle manifest unqualified absolute.
No, that there, you're mixing up the actual and the potential. The actual, the actual is oh, I see what you mean. There's the three absolutes of actuality and the three absolutes of potentiality. Well, they're very different though. I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know if you can compare the Son to the unqualified absolute and the Isle of Paradise to the universal absolute. I'm not sure I don't think you can do that. I don't think they're the same.
Universal absolute is the function. I mean, the function of universal absolute almost
No, you may be right. I'm just not
reflect
sure.
the eternal, infinite spirit. The function, I mean, the function can be kind of corresponding to each other.
No, you may be right, but it doesn't say that.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, but it might be correct, but it just doesn't say that, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
对，我是想这个潜在的，它也是对应显在的、现实化的那三者一组。我是认为这个神灵绝对，然后表现出显的阳性的那一面就是永恒之子，然后无限定绝对啊显化出来就是天堂岛，然后万有性绝对的就是作用相当于无限之灵。他说有可能我是对的，但是他不确定。
The interassociation of the original, the actual, and the potential yields the tensions within infinity, which result in the possibility for all universe growth. And growth is the nature of the sevenfold, the supreme, and the ultimate. So they're saying that this tension, it is the tension and the relationship between the original source and center, the actual, the Son, Spirit, and Paradise, and the potential, all the potential encompassed in the first source and center. It is this relationship between these three realities that yields which makes universal growth possible. So all of experience and all of evolution is only possible because of the relationship between the original, the actual, and the potential. It's like I said, cause and effect. We can't have the potential cannot manifest. Evolution, experience, the universe is evolving. None of that can take place without the original source and center, the union of the first triodity, the Son, the Spirit, and Paradise, and then the potential, all of the potential in the first source and center. The three of these relating to each other creates the basis for the evolving universes in the master universe. All of this is the effect of those three realities, if that makes sense.
就是这些关系嘛，原初的、现实的、潜在的，这三者之间的相互关联，这个关系产生了张力， 在无限中产生张力，所以带来这个经验和进化的可能性啊。然后就是生生不息嘛，它这个变化易经的易嘛，就是生生不息，就是由于这个关系带来的，关系产生的张力，在无限中产生的张力。
And remember we were reading about God the sevenfold. I think it was in the forward, and it was the Creator, Son, and the Supreme Being. And I think it was. Do you remember what God the sevenfold was? Was it God, the eternal?
Ancient day, the first source and center, creator, son, ancient days,
Oh, right, the Ancient of Days. It was
and
definitely the Creator, Son, and the Supreme, and the Ancients of Days. That's three. There's
and
so
the
there.
supreme being.
Oh, it was the Master Spirits, right? It was the Master Spirits. That's five. Then
Supreme being, ultimate.
I think it was. I mean, we can check, but I think it was God the Father, the Eternal Son, the Infinite Spirit, the seven Master Spirits, the Ancients of Days, the Supreme Being, and the Creator Sons. It might have been, right? Well, it was something like that. I mean, that makes sense because they're saying here that the interassociation of the original, the actual, and the potential yields the tensions within infinity, which result in the possibility of all universe growth. And growth is the nature of the sevenfold. The supreme and the ultimate. We might not be right. Anyway, the supreme and the ultimate. We're reading about the supreme now. That's the evolving finite universes. The next level is the ultimate. But the sevenfold was definitely involved with the supreme because it was the Creator Sons, the Ancients of Days, the Master Spirits, right? That's all involved in this grand universe that is evolving. And they're saying the growth is the nature of the sevenfold, the supreme and the ultimate. So it's the nature that the grand universe and the supreme being who's kind of like managing the grand universe, sort of like the God of the grand universe. And it's all about growth. That's the nature. The nature of these universes that we live in is growth.
这个神至高者，他是他在神之七重tổ当中，他是处在中间的嘛，他是主要是管理这个成长的，管理这个大宇宙的。
And then in the association of the deity universal and unqualified absolutes, okay, the three absolutes, potentiality is absolute while actuality is emergent. That's so interesting. In the association of the second, third, and paradise sources and centers, actuality is absolute while potentiality is emergent. And I'll explain this in a second. In the originality of the first source center, we cannot say that either actuality or potentiality. So they're saying that the first source and center, which is the Father, the I am, actuality and potentiality are both equally dominant. They're both are. Everything is. There's nothing that's like emergent or dominant. The Father is, but in the second source, in the second, in the actual the second, third, and paradise sources and centers, that's the eternal Son, the infinite Spirit, and paradise. Actuality is absolute, while potentiality is emergent. So that's the one that they call the original, the actual, and the potential. Okay, the original, potential, and actuality are both equal. They're just both there. The actual, which is the second the triodity of the Son, the Spirit, and the Isle of Paradise, they're saying actuality is absolute while potentiality is emergent. So that it's called the actual. That is what is, but it's full of potential, but it is what it is. But then they're saying in the third, they're saying the potential. I know I'm not doing this well. Deity, universal, unqualified, absolute. Potentiality is absolute, while actuality is emergent. Potentiality is absolute, while actual. So they're talking about the original, the actual, and the potential. Just what we read about. And they're just saying that in the first one, actuality and potentiality are equal. In the second one, actuality, the actual is absolute. It is. But the potential is emergent. It exists. In the third one, the potential is absolute. It's all about potential. But what is actual is, it's the reverse. It's all about potential, but the actuality is potential. In other words, if you're all about potential, all that potential will become actual. So the actual is inherent in the potential. So everything that will be, that can be, will be actual at some point. But the dominant, it's not even that important.
What is the third? What is the third?
The potential is
The third source and center is the eternal, is the infinite Spirit.
no, because we see they reverse the order. That's why it's confusing. They're talking about the 1, 2, 3, the original, the actual, and the potential, but they reverse the order. So they're talking about the first one first, and they're talking about the third one first, then the second one, then the first one. So that's why it's confusing. They reverse the order. See, when they say in the association of the deity, universal, and unqualified absolutes, that's the third one. That's the potential that they just listed above, 1, 2, 3. And then they say that in the association of the second, third, and paradise sources and centers, that's the second one, the actual. And then they say in the originality of the first source and center, that's the first one, the original. So they just reverse the order.
还是挺糊涂的这一段3.10，那些绝对啊，3个绝对啊，肯定是潜力是绝对的，现实是初心的。初心的这个地方可以弄成说是，潜力是绝对的，现实是初心的，就是说存在的啊，可以把初心的当成存在的，现实就是存在的。第二本源与中心，就是现实是绝对的，潜力是初心的。我不了解，我完全不了解，这个是就是有一点感觉，但是不了解，我也不知道他在讲什么。
And then have I read this one yet? Did I read this?
Yeah, you did 12 and 12. Yeah, 11, 12 as well. Maybe we can just stop over at 12. You already read it. We read Chinese
Right.
through the 12th paragraph as well.
So Well, you mean from a time, from
Yeah.
a time,
We read
I-
that as well.
and did I read from a creature's viewpoint?
Yes, yes,
And-
we're, yeah, so we're,
Okay, so I'd
get
start
that.
with the three absolutes, right?
yes.
Okay, okay.
Three absolutes, next.
Yes, I'm just thinking for 1 minute. Originality is that which first causes and then balances the dual motions of the cycle of reality.
Are you reading the 12th?
I'm just reading the last sentence of the one from a creature's viewpoint. Original is that which first causes. I think they're, as I said, they're talking about from a time viewpoint, from a creature's viewpoint.
Mm.
So they're just explaining how actuality and potential are different from
Yeah.
our viewpoint. Yeah. Okay. So I'll
Wait.
start with
下面两段就是从时间的角度看，立场看，从受造物立场看这个现实和潜在的关系。温蒂，你要休息就休息去哈，我们把这两段完了就结束了今天，主要是录的稍微完整一点。
OK。
okay. It's really it's a very beautiful paragraph, this from a creature's viewpoint. I encourage everyone to read it again because it's a really beautiful paragraph. So okay, so the next paragraph is the three absolutes of potentiality are operative on the purely eternal level of the cosmos. Hence, never function as such on sub-absolute levels. On the descending levels of reality, the triodity of potentiality is manifest with the ultimate and upon the supreme.
No, what you are doing?
What?
You already go to the three absolutes, right?
I already read this one?
No, you haven't done from the time viewpoint from.
Oh, I thought you
viewpoint.
said I read those. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you read those, but you have not interpreted that.
Oh,
two
okay,
paragraphs.
okay.
So
From
we're going to get that 2 paragraphs done, and then we are going to do the 3 absolutes next.
Okay. So you read them, but I haven't interpreted. Okay.
Right.
From the time viewpoint, the actual is that which was and is. From the time viewpoint, the actual is that which was and is. The
That's
potential-
easy.
Wait, sorry, what?
That's easy to understand.
Yeah, from the time, the actual is that which was and is, right. The potential is that which is becoming and will be, right, we got that. The original is that which is, we got that. From the eternity viewpoint, the differences between the original, the actual, and the potential are not thus apparent. These triune qualities are not so distinguished on paradise eternity levels. In eternity, all is, only has all not yet been revealed in time and space. So they're just saying, for them, they're the actual and the potential has already actualized. There is no before, there is no time and space as we know it. So therefore, everything that can be, that will be, already is. It's a completely different idea of time and space. But they do, so from an eternity perspective,
Yeah,
From
because in
an eternity.
eternity, there is no time. That's why there is no future, no past.
Well, I wouldn't say there is no time, but there's certainly no time and space the way we view it. I'm not sure if there's some kind of time or not, but because you do arrive there, and you know what I mean? You do go there, and you when you get there, maybe when you get there, you always were there. You know what I mean? It gets confusing, but there's certainly no time and space the way we see it in the finite universes. So they're saying because time and space, there either is no time and space or it's so different. Because I mean, you could say there's no time and space, but there is paradise. It is a place, right? So there is some kind of space, and I think there may even be some kind of time, but it's so different. Or I mean, it's completely transcendent. So, so what they're saying is, but they do from an eternity, the difference between is not apparent. The difference between the original, the actual, and the potential, it's all one. The actual, the potential has already been actual. There is no beginning. So there is no original, the way we view it. Can you hear the dog barking?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I gotta stop him. Hey, Breitbart, you come here. The FedEx truck is here, so he's going crazy. Come here, come. So, but
Yeah.
there is
I understand. I understand.
what?
I understand it.
All right, hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 minute. I'll take care of this.
这两段应该很好理解，其实不用他太费劲去解释，对吧？下一段塑造物立场也是很容易的。潜在的嘛，潜在的就是能力也还没彰显出来的，还没表达出来的。对，我觉得用我们太极的那个理解潜在
Okay, I'm back.
特别容易。我们的理论框架对这一部分应该就没有什么困难。Yeah, we have only one paragraph to go. One paragraph. We can call it a day then.
Yes, the only thing I'll add is that they're saying that from an eternity viewpoint, these distinctions are not apparent. In eternity, all is only has all yet not yet been revealed in time and space. So they are aware that we are living in the actual and that the potential has not been revealed to us. So it's revealed to them, but not to us. But they're aware of that. They understand that the time-space universes are living in the actual, not the potential. So that there's a difference for them in that, hey, we see the whole picture, but we also know that the whole picture has not been revealed in time and space.
对，
Only part of it.
对永恒的角度，它不管是现在的和潜在的，对他来说都历历在目嘛。那就是在他因为没有时间啊，高维的不是也都破了时间的项目，对他来说都已经发生了，已经存在了。其实没有未来、过去的区别，都已经在了。
From a creature's viewpoint, actuality is substance, potentiality is capacity. So they're just saying that, you know, what is actual is substantive, is real to us, but the potentiality is capacity. So capacity is like we have the capacity for more. We're capable of more. So we're aware of the potential. We have the capacity for it, but it's not substantive yet.
对，所以这一段也挺好的，挺有那个，就是潜力是能力，潜力是能力嘛，能力就是你有这个能力，但是你还没表达出来，表现出来。
And then they say actuality exists centermost and expands therefrom into peripheral infinity. Potentiality comes inward from the infinity periphery and converges at the center of all things. That's kind of beautifully written. They're just saying that we're focused on what is actual, and that there's no end to what is actual. It continues on into infinity. Our actuality is limitless. It continues on into infinity. And the way we view potentiality is it comes to us from the infinite and it moves toward the center. So what is potential is sort of coming from infinity, and what is actual is sort of going to infinity.
他这个很形象的描写说，现实存在于最中央，并从那里扩展到外围无限。潜力呢，去从无限性的外围往内而来，汇聚在万物中心。就是一个阴阳图，它就是阴阳，它就是一个不断的在这样一个转化的过程当中。
And then I like the way they say that potentiality comes inward from infinity, from the infinity periphery, and converges at the center of all things. So that's kind of a nice visual. That for us, what's potential comes from the periphery, from the edge of our reality, from the infinite beyond, but converges at the center of all things. So what's potential to us, it's not just some hazy idea in the distance. It converges. It may come from the hazy distance, but it converges at the center of all things. So what is potential is very, very important to us because it converges at the center of all things. So we are all about our potential.
对，这潜在性是上中间汇聚的潜在性，对。
And then the last sentence is originality is that which first causes and then balances the dual motions of the cycle of reality metamorphosis from potentials to actuals and the potentializing of existing actuals. So when there's in this case originality, they're talking about the original, the first source and center. They're saying that that what is original really contains the potential and the actual in it and balances them. It originates both the actual and the potential. They both originate in the first source and center.
像阴阳这两种力量都是从哪儿出发的？都是从原初性嘛，宇宙第一本源与中心，或者说拿我们道家就是那个道嘛，阴阳都是从道体来的。那么这个道引发，继而平衡这阴阳互动，从潜力到现实的这种蜕变循环。
Okay, that's as far as we got, right?
Yes, yeah.
All right. Okay,
Yes.
that's enough. That's enough actual and potential for one day.
Yeah. 从潜在到现实的一天，对，可以进行到这儿了。没读的就可以算是潜在的嘛，读了的就是显在嘛，现实化了。 对，读到哪儿就是现实化到哪儿，对，所以很有意思，就是万物都是这样的道理，并且，对，它就是实现这样一个无限循环。Okay, yeah, sounds great. Thank you, Heidi. Our long session today.
Yeah, I didn't realize it had it was so long. I last time I looked it was like 9:30 and then all of a sudden it was 10:30. So I
Yeah,
I don't even know how that happened. I definitely lost track of time and space for sure.
Mhm.